Today, we're diving into one of the Quran's shortest, but honestly, one of its most profound chapters, Surah Al-Ma'un. It gives us this incredible look at what faith really means, not just as some belief you hold in your head, but as something you actually do. The whole chapter, everything we're about to unpack, it all starts with this one single, powerful question. It's basically saying, hey, have you ever really looked at the person who denies the final recompense? It's an invitation to really understand a certain kind of person. So think of this as a journey. We're going to use the verses of this chapter to build a profile, piece by piece, of the person being described. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, we have to get to the root of the problem. What is the one core belief, or, disbelief, that makes all the other negative actions we're about to see even possible?
The chapter points directly to the denial of ad-din. Now, in this context, ad-din means the recompense, the day of judgment. This isn't just about someone who doesn't believe in God. It's more specific. It's about denying that a day will come when we all have to stand and account for our actions, a day of ultimate justice. And right there, that's the absolute key. I mean, think about it. If you genuinely believe there are no ultimate consequences, that you'll never truly be held accountable for what you do, what's stopping you from being selfish? What's to prevent you from acting on your worst impulses? This denial is the shaky foundation for everything else. So, how does this internal disbelief actually show up on the outside? Because it doesn't just stay hidden in someone's head. It starts to manifest in very clear, very visible ways, especially in how this person treats the most vulnerable people in society. The verse says this person, yadu'u al-yatim. And that Arabic word, yadu'u, wow, it is so incredibly strong. It doesn't just mean he turns the orphan away. No. It means he repels them, shoves them, pushes them away with actual harshness and contempt. This is a violent act against a child who has lost their father, someone who needs compassion more than anyone. This quote really paints a picture of the internal state of a person like this, a heart that can be that cruel to a defenseless child. It's described as being like a stone, or maybe even harder. It shows a complete and total lack of mercy. So, we've got two big red flags here. First, that violent, forceful rejection of the orphan. But then it goes a step further. This person doesn't just fail to feed the poor themselves, they don't even bother to encourage other people to do it. They're so empty of charity that they might even stand in the way of it. Okay, get ready for a twist, because this is where the chapter does something you might not expect. You think it would just keep describing people who are obviously non-believers, right? Instead, it pivots and starts critiquing people who are actually performing acts of worship, specifically the daily prayers. And then comes this shocking warning. So woe to those who pray. Whoa, hold on. But wait. It immediately clarifies that this isn't some blanket condemnation of prayer. Not at all. It's aimed at a very specific type of worshiper. So the question is, who are they? Now this is really interesting because the Arabic makes a critical distinction here. The verse says they are heedless of their prayers, an salatihim. This is the part that's condemned. It means neglecting prayer, pushing it off past its proper time. Your mind is a million miles away and you're making zero effort to focus. This is completely different from being heedless in prayer, fi salatihim. That's when you, say, forget a verse or lose track of how many units you've done. That's just human error, it's forgivable, and it even happened to the prophet. The first one, though, is a deliberate state of neglect. And the second major problem with their worship is something called riyah, which basically means showing off. This is when someone performs a religious act not out of a sincere connection to God, but so that other people will see them and be impressed. They want the reputation of being pious. It's even called the hidden shirk, because it's subtly taking an act that should be for God and directing it towards pleasing people instead. So here's how it works. You have the action itself. Maybe it's prayer or giving charity. It looks good on the outside. But the real goal, the hidden intention, is to get praise from people. And when that happens, the entire act, which should have been a pure spiritual thing, becomes totally hollow and corrupted. And that brings us to the final characteristic, the one that actually gives this chapter its name. This is the last trait that really completes the profile of the person who denies the recompense. The term al-ma'un refers to small, simple, everyday acts of kindness. We're not talking about huge donations here. We're talking about the most basic neighborly help, the little courtesies and necessities you lend to others. I mean, think about what this looks like in real life. It's refusing to lend your neighbor a hammer or a bucket, or not even giving someone a glass of water when they ask. It's withholding those small, common things that cost you practically nothing but can mean a lot to the person who needs it. It shows a total breakdown of community spirit.
And what this reveals is a character so twisted by selfishness that their hard-heartedness goes all the way down to the smallest, most effortless acts of kindness. They've become completely walled off from the people around them. Which leads us to the ultimate point of all this. There's a famous description of the Prophet Muhammad, that his character was the Quran. And that's the real goal, isn't it? The point isn't just to recite scripture or go through the motions of rituals. The point is for these teachings to get inside you and fundamentally transform your character, your actions, and how you treat other people.
And that leaves us with something to think about. Beyond the big public displays of faith, how does what we really believe deep down about accountability, about mercy, how does it actually show up in the small things? In the way we lend a tool to a neighbor or the way we speak to someone in need? Because in the end, it's often in those little acts of ma'on that the true nature of our heart is really put on display.